Welcome back to the Retro Movie Experience. Now we're about to dive into part 2 of Jackson the American Dream. Now if you guys have not seen it, make sure you guys go check out my part 1 video before you guys check out part 2. Now, where we left off, we are in the height of J5 Mania. Okay? Now wait, hold on. Now, before I even get into all that, we are in part 2. So now we're about to get into J5 Mania Beyond, into the older Michael Jackson. And I feel as though that I'm just a little underdressed for all this. You know, let's change that. Oh, I had to bring out the glove. Had to get my jerry curl in. So we about to get into this review and we're gonna do this right. So right now, we are heavily into J5 Mania right now. First of all, I don't think people truly understand how hot the Jackson 5 were. You know, we know that Michael Jackson was, you know, like the most popular person on the planet since Jesus Christ. Okay, but we don't really truly understand that how big the Jackson 5 was. That J5 Mania, when they first got up in the Motown, especially started like in 1970, was everywhere. Jackson 5 was on all the types of commercials. They were on all the types of TV specials. They even had their own Saturday morning cartoon, coloring books, lunchbox, MJ fan clubs, J5 fan clubs. No matter where you looked, the Jackson 5 was everywhere. As it rise into Motown with their 4 #1 hits, and then on top of that followed by #2 hits after that, they just had a string of top hits that, and everybody, to the point where they were selling out stadiums that they were selling out. Y'all don't understand that Michael Jackson had been selling out stadiums since he was 12, 13 years old. Like, come on now. You got a lot of people that can't even do that now. Now, in my personal opinion, I do believe, like, this is going to probably be a little bit of unpopular opinion, I felt as though that I personally like part 1 a little bit more than I like part 2. And the reason for that is because I felt as though part 2 felt rushed. We already got a half an hour off the story, because this is only about 90 minutes for part 2, where part 1 took about 2 hours and 15 or 17 minutes, something like that. We lose a half an hour. And then on top of that, we skip a lot of the important stories in here. We do a lot more musical numbers because we substitute that for character development, because all the character development is in the first part. So anything you need to know about Joseph, Katherine, or any of the kids, excluding Janet, find all that in part 1. So this one is more like, hey, if you guys already know the story, come on in. But there are some things, because there are things that just feel so rushed that they could have flushed out, and with just another half an hour, I think could have really benefited them. This is why I always credit the New Edition story, because the New Edition was another group also that had a lot of story to be told, especially when it comes to all of them having their solo careers and coming back together again. That's why I applaud them for doing 3 parts. That's why I felt as though the Jackson should have been 3 parts. But this was one of the first big miniseries, so it was the blueprint. Now, me saying all that, does that disqualify the fact that it was a good miniseries or it was a good part? No, I just felt as though that there were some things that were left out that we need to talk about. Like, all in this part, there's so much stuff that happens that it needs to be explained. Like we get Tito goes out and gets married to Dee Dee. Jermaine gets married to Hazel. The Jackson 5 are leaving Motown to go to CBS. Jermaine leaves the group. Randy joins the group. More on Randy later. But now, as it starts off with all that J5 Mania, we have to do a montage of how popular the J5 are, which is usually covers a lot of ground in a short amount of time. Okay, so we really can't get into, they like skip from 1970 to about 73, 74, where they're at the height of the popularity. So we get like a montage that is showing all that, but they decide to, instead of just showing more about the Jackson 5 Mania and how popular they are, they do decide to show more of the human aspect of it. Like, what was life like on the road for these kids? And you know what? I respect that. Because usually when I've been looking at biopic stuff like that, I'm just like, listen, the popular stuff, that stuff that's already out there on the TV, we know all that stuff. But my thing is, what is it like for them as human beings? And they show that in the hotel room, and how Tito's is so into Dee Dee. Michael and Marlon are some badass kids dropping water balloons off the balcony on the people's heads down below. Jackie trying to be the adult in the situation, but also wants to have a little bit of fun. And Jermaine is all up in the groupies, okay? And this is another thing also. In part 1, when I had said that every Jackson family member gets like a little storyline, and I said in part 1 that Jermaine is just Jermaine until part 2. Because part 2, Jermaine and Michael, I feel as though, get more of the storylines in this one when it comes to individual storylines. And you would think that Michael get the biggest one, but believe it or not, that is not the case. And Jermaine, as they're getting assaulted by all these groupies during the J5 Mania, he's just like, hey, I like the groupies. Now, Jermaine liking all the groupies, of course, Jermaine is going to be the one that's going to fall to the lust first. But wait a minute, Jermaine. Aren't you with Hazel Gordy? Now, I'm just saying that we sat there and established that obviously you talking to Hazel Gordy. Now you got Shorty up in here feeling on you in the telly? Like, Jermaine, what the hell really going on, bro? Did everybody have to have a taste of Jermaine?
You slept with Jermaine Jackson. You just gonna sit here and tell me you slept with Jermaine Jackson? Rob!
But that's the only scene that we get of young Jermaine, because now Jermaine has grown up to this actor named Colin Steele. So here's the thing: when I saw Colin Steele, I was like, okay, he got the Jermaine look. I like, the Jermaine, how he got the Jermaine mannerisms, and I can call it a good casting choice. But brother can't act. I'm sorry, look, I'm not sitting here saying I'm not acting myself, but I'm just saying for what I seen, this man sit there as he's acting got like a serious breathing problem. Like for every scene that he's in, that he has to exert some drama. Like, the man got a breathing problem.
I'm gonna get my own attorney. I'm gonna have him check things out. I love Hazel. She's the only one I love.
Damn, bro, you need a CPAP machine? And it don't even matter, because even in part 2, like I said in part 1, Jermaine be on bitch time. Don't worry, Jermaine still be on bitch time in this part 2.
Hey man, that was good, standing up to Joseph like that.
It isn't true what he said.
Stick to your guns, man.
Yeah, I bet you wouldn't say that in a louder voice.
He be like, shut the fuck up. I be quiet, but when he leave, I be talking again.
Now, one thing about this part also is now Katherine is not putting up with any more of Joseph's bullshit, okay? Because Joseph, was the disciplinary. We saw how aggressive Joe was to the kids and even abusive he was to the kids. And Katherine says, like, no, now we got money now. We successful now. And as Joe is trying to force to keep the family together, and all the other family members are going out there trying to get married to escape the family because of how much of a lock Joe has on there. Even Dee and Tito wants to get married, and Joe can't even entertain the idea of this at all. And Katherine's just like, look, you know what? I'm tired of it. And one of the most satisfying scenes of the movie is when Joe finds that Michael and Marlon left the towel, the swimming pool, and then Katherine says, no, I'm not doing it. So she stood up and put her good foot down and sit there and curse Joe out.
I've had enough, Joseph. All these years, I've had enough.
She had enough, Joseph.
You cannot do it anymore.
Gotta stop. Can't do it no more.
What are you going to do?
What are you gonna do, Joe? What are you gonna do?
Ask him to go out, get a switch off a tree, bring it in here so you can beat him with it. Go to bed, Joseph.
He ain't got nothing to say, do it.
Go to bed.
It was one of the most satisfying scenes of the movie. It's just like, hey, Joe, I'm done with your bullshit, all right? Keep this thing moving. You know what I'm saying? They are too grown. They got too much money for you to sit there and be acting like this. And first of all, Haver's big enough. I ain't be trying to run all over them acres trying to catch these kids. Jermaine and Hazel's Gordy is blooming, and then to the point where Jermaine wants to go and asks Barry Gordy for Hazel's hand in marriage. So they eventually gets married, but this is what's really affecting Michael, because Michael sees all his brothers growing up and getting married and trying and escaping the house to the point where he feels as though like he really has the belief that this is going to hurt our fan base, and we can't do this to our fans, even though he just doesn't want to be alone, because everybody's moving out to Haverhurst. They're going out to their own houses. They're married. They're not staying in Haverhurst. They're leaving. So now, as we're going through that, we go into 1976, where we get our first introduction to who's playing Michael 3, the final form Michael Jackson, Wally Draper. I've said in part 1 that I felt as though Jason Weaver did the overall good performance, as he was one of my favorites as Michael Jackson. But let me tell y'all something. That's because he's an actor, he's a singer, he had the look down, he had the cuteness, innocence down, because I don't consider Wally Draper an actor. He is fucking Michael Jackson. Wally Draper, who was a dancer, right, came in here, no acting experience at all, looked like Michael, act like Michael, to the point where damn near I thought it was Michael. Y'all remember that torture music video where they had to get the stand-in dummy? They wish they had Wally Draper at that moment, because honestly, the wax dummy was stupid. I felt as though when I was younger that Mike said, can nobody do it like me? I'm going to do it myself. That's how much Wally Draper did Michael justice. Like, that's his signature role. And sadly, Wally Jr. passed away from a rare form of leukemia the next year after this movie came out, and it was very, very sad. And it was like, that could have put him on the stratosphere, because you have them define roles. Like, Leon is always David Ruffin to me. Woody McClain is always Bobby Brown for me. Chadwick Boseman will always be James Brown for me right now. And when it comes to Michael Jackson, Wally Draper is it. This is the one things I'm worried about when it comes to the Michael movie. It's not that if Jafar can do the part, because nobody can play Michael, because he's Michael Jackson. It's how can he hold up against Wally Draper. During this time, when you bring about Jeff, Michael has got a little bit older, and they're having issues with Motown. Motown at the time would not let them, have that freedom to write and produce their own songs. They had producers, they had writers, they even had people in the room to make their own, like to do their own instruments, to the point where even sometimes Tito and Jermaine even had to play the bass or the guitar. So now they feel that they want more freedom, they want more control. Marvin Gaye has done it, Stevie Wonder has done it, so the Jacksons feel as though they need to do it. And it says Joe is losing a reign on the kids anyway, but then also at Motown, they feel as though that they can get more freedom is to go over to CBS. So they want to go sign over to CBS. But there's one problem. Asthmatic Jermaine. Jermaine is still married to Hazel. So how is this going to work out? Is he going to leave Motown after being married to the boss's daughter?
Hazel, I don't know what's wrong. I can't take this pressure. It's driving me nuts.
And so Jermaine is struggling with that decision. And Michael just feels as though like, hey, we're a family. How can I look to my left and not see you there? Michael was very hurt by Jermaine leaving, and I don't feel as though they really dove into it enough about how much Michael felt as though, or how much it really hurt the family that Jermaine was actually leaving. They'd never been apart before, and for Jermaine to stay at Motown, because of course Jermaine was going to stay at Motown. So then now, since Jermaine being gone, and since Motown owns the name the Jackson 5, so Joe's like, we're not Jackson 5, we're the Jacksons. And they substitute out Jermaine to bring in Randy. Wait a minute. That's Randy? Listen, this is why I said we're going to wait till later to Randy. Because first of all, why does Randy, as the younger brother, look older than all the other brothers? Like, honestly, when we used to watch this movie, my mom used to say with me when I was younger, she was like, why does Randy look like Jackie? Because that guy who's playing Randy Jackson looks like the older Jackie Jackson opposed to Terrence Howard. And Randy just slides up in there. But if you go back and look at the old footage of Jackson 5, especially when it comes like 1972, going on down, Randy's there on the bongos. He's like on tour with them. He is doing interviews with them. Randy has always been there, okay? But it's just like, but this movie, it's like, no, we just going to put him up in here. The one thing I do like about this part is the relationship that they built between Michael and his mother, Katherine. And Angela Bassett and Wally Draper does such a good job of capturing the emotion, because a lot of people don't understand what the hell Michael was going through. Like, I've read Moonwalker, I've read Jermaine's book, I have read a lot of other books on Michael, and they've all have the same thing, all uniform, about Michael cares about his appearance. Not about his blackness, his appearance, because they used to make fun of him about his nose. He had terrible acne. Like, once again, we don't see it because they got professional makeup artists to cover all that stuff up. And also him just growing up. Michael started out as a very cute boy at 9 years old on national television. But then, just like everybody, like nature takes its course, he grows up. And then there was a time, like in 1974, 75, that Michael was just going through the teenage angst. And there are people that are being really mean to him, and like the fans be really mean to him, and they were saying like, hey, where's little Michael Jackson? He's like, I'm right here. And they were like, oh.
That's little Michael Jackson. Yuck. He's got pimples. I think I'm ugly. Oh, Michael.
I'm not supposed to grow up. I'm not supposed to go through these teenage problems. So it really hurt him to the point he don't want to let down his fans, because he was taught one way by Motown. It's about the fans and about selling it to the fans. And I liked how they addressed that in this part between him and his mother, showing their bond and relationship, showing something that really affected Michael. It really humanized him, because when you have these polarizing figures like this, you need to know the human side of things too, because all we know is the side that they show out on camera, or the media goes, or what they research about this person. No, I really enjoyed them bringing this to the forefront of the movie. And with Michael being so emotional, especially with Jermaine leaving, and Jermaine not wanting to leave his family, it's like it was really crushing, seeing that scene as they had the never can say goodbye, him walking on the beach, and you want to see how's the family going to survive. And wait a minute! 1983? Thriller? Wait a minute, we was just in 1976. We skipped 7 years? Listen, I understand. This is what I said, a half an hour is missing. If this miniseries got another half an hour or even a part 3, it could benefit flushing everything out, because the 7 years that they skipped, and I understand that Jermaine Jackson being the producer on this, he was like, you know what? I wasn't part of that Jackson era. We could just skip all that and go right to Thriller. But here's the thing. There's so much stuff that's in that section that needs to be talked about, which will help address some of the things that's going on at the later part of the movie. Such as, this is the stuff that we skipped. The Jacksons formed. Had hits like Show You the Way to Go, Blame It on the Boogie, Shake Your Body Down to the Ground with the iconic dance step. Michael stars in The Wiz with Diana Ross, and that's how he meets Quincy Jones. Then we get Off the Wall, Michael's first big solo album. Look, we had got to be there, and Ben, I understand what I'm talking about, with none, just Michael Jackson. It's Off the Wall. How do we not get Off the Wall for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough? I would love to see Wild Draper do that. Hell, Jermaine had himself a big hit. Jermaine has had some hits, but this was when he got his big hit, Let's Get Serious. By the way, Let's Get Serious made the #1 right over Rock With You by Michael Jackson on Off the Wall. Michael broke his nose at this time, which led to his first nose surgery, which led to the downfall of the plastic surgeries. But these are things that's happened in them 7 years. I was just like, I was floored, like we skipped all of that. Randy got no time really, and Janet is virtually invisible. It just felt so empty, like I said, empty and rushed to get to a certain point. And I was like, I wanted to see what the effect of losing Jermaine would have been on the group, on the family, and things like that. And you could even just did a montage. The Temptations did it. Now, once again, Temptations came out after the Jacksons, but even when they was during the 70s and they showed they had 2 groups of Temptations, Eddie Kendricks went solo, David Ruffin went solo. We had a little montage. We could even had a 5-minute montage explaining everything that happened in that 7 years, but we didn't even get that. But now we have seen the worst from Joe Jackson. Okay, we thought we seen the worst. It's like, but at least him and Katherine still here. But no, not Joseph. Joseph sat there and is having his affair, and I was like, oh God, we're gonna talk about the affair. And Katherine says that, like, Katherine let a lot of things go. But this is how she's standing up for herself. And she finally was like, you know what? I'm going to stand up for myself. And we're going to, I'm done with Joe's shit. And I love that scene when she came in there with that crazy ass smile. And she sat there and whooped Joe. She gave Joe a good ass 2-piece.
And ring twice and hang up. I know you were saying. You gotta stop playing with us.
Katherine is so hurt, she makes sure she grabs her clothes and her Bible and drives off. Michael tries to catch her before she drives off. I'm gonna be real with you. Michael probably could have caught that car if he had some more traction in that outfit. I mean, Michael, what the hell are you wearing, bro? Like, you about to square up and tech it. Katherine goes to Alabama to her mama house, known as Suge Avery. Now, I did not mention about Suge Avery in part 1, but yes, Suge Avery. But I did show a clip of her that she's in this movie. But it tells her that home is where the heart is. Not necessarily to go back for Joe and forgive him, but this is where your heart is, and the kids need you, because she's been gone for a minute. And then when we get back, it's kind of like we have what's happening with the other kids? When she comes back and then Joe talks about, he mentions that Randy's on his motorcycle. I mean, he just ought to be on his motorcycle, all the damn keys he got on his jacket.
Just thinking of my sweetheart. Just thinking of a new life. Just thinking of the good signs. Thinking about my baby. Get in the car!
There's a brief mention of Jane doing her TV show, which I think is Good Times at this time. And Joe's in the house by herself. Katherine talks about, he says, like, Michael, nobody knows what Michael's is, and Michael's been quiet like that. She said, I think it started when Marlon got married.
I think it started when Marlon got married. Him being so quiet. He and Marlon was so close. He felt like he was all alone.
And this is one of the things I was talking about, having that extra half an hour to talk about that 7-year span, because we would have found out that how much getting married all the brothers did to get away from everything hurt Michael, and why Michael acts this way. Because Michael really it feels like he doesn't really want anything to do with these guys. Because Suzanne DePass is planning Motown 25. And Michael says no, he's not doing it. And because the Jacksons had broke up, even to the point where Jackie makes the mention that we got to make an appointment to go see Michael.
Need an appointment to see our own little brother.
If you don't know the story or anything, then you're like, why you gotta make an appointment to see Mike? Why did the Jacksons break up? Like, what does this seem like beef? What's going on? Now, once again, Michael has mentioned that he wanted to do things on his own. But still, the way he's acting like that, it would have justified it more if we could see that. But he does tell his mother that he wants to be on his own in that scene when they're outside, with all them animals. First off, Pause. They got all these animals in this scene, and here's the thing. Those animals were personally given to them by like the Michael Jackson collection, stuff like that. And I'm just like, how is it that you're gonna say, but you know what? Instead of a dog or a cat, you know what they need in this scene? Some giraffes and lions. Send that to them for the movie. Like, Mike, you want some other shit.
Michael Jackson got giraffe money. Mike got so much money, he done bought 2 giraffes. You don't even know who to call to check on the giraffe.
Well, Michael says no, he's doing too much TV, so Suzanne D. Pass is asking Barry Gordy to be able to talk to him since he's been like a father figure to him. So he goes down there and talks to Michael about doing Motown 25. And Michael, who said that Barry has always been more a father to him than his actual father, will do it for Barry under one condition. I want to have a solo spot. That is when we get the Motown 25 performance of Billie Jean, and Wally Draper kills it. That's why when I was younger, I was just like, Mike said, no, I don't want nobody playing me. I'm just going to do it myself. Even though by this time, Michael was all the way white. Okay, I feel like it took full effect already. The man's voice has matured a lot more. He wasn't even, at this point, wasn't even wearing the glove like that much. I was like, but I was convinced, like, no, he said, I'm going to do it myself. He changed back and did it himself. Wally Draper kills the Motown 25 performance. This is when Mike debuted his legendary moonwalk. Now, real quick side note, this is the fan in me. Mike has been really doing the backslide moonwalk and told everybody that it's not his move, that he learned it way before that, but this like really brought it to the world. Like, I'm gonna show it to the world, and this is what he did it, and Wally Draper kills it. Now, granted, this is a little bit out of order because this is Motown 25. The Jacksons do perform first, and then they leave Michael on stage, and then Michael goes and performs Billie Jean. But since the grand finale has to be all 6 brothers going back together, I understood why they did it that way. But Wally Draper kills it here. He just shows why he was the right pick to play Michael Jackson, and it was a phenomenal scene. Now, Joe kind of wants to, like, the boys had fired him. When Kathy came back, I forgot to mention that Joe gets fired from the Jacksons. Well, he wants to try to put them in a Pepsi commercial because Pepsi going to be a lot of money, right? So they signed this Pepsi deal. I remember them Jackson Pepsi commercials. I used to love them things, man. I used to say, you're the Pepsi generation. Like, I used to love them commercials, man. They tell a story about Michael doing, the Pepsi commercial. Now, at this time, we show how it's happened, and Michael's head gets caught on fire, and then he rolls down some steps and gets 30-degree burns. Now, I've heard that this was, it's like, why all the drama? He ain't rolled down some stairs. Like, it was all this extra. Why you got all this extra stuff in here? Here's the thing, though. This movie came out in 92. At this time, to my knowledge, nobody knew truly how it happened. They just knew, like, hey, sparks came up and his head caught on fire, and that was it. Nobody truly knew how it was happening. Well, it had to dramatize it somehow. So Mike gets 30-degree burns on his head, and we actually do get a nice heartwarming scene from Joe about Michael.
You have any kids?
No.
It's my son in there. My son.
Now, Catherine's all concerned about Michael. Michael's all happy he was getting to ride in the ambulance. But I'm telling you, when Joe get in there, he talked to him. Mike guy ain't got nothing to say to him. Mike guy, I got nothing to say to you, bro. But as Michael is recovering, Catherine talks to him and lets him know that, listen, don't be afraid of us. We're family. Okay, you can go out there and do your whole thing, but your brothers need you right now, and we're family. Don't ever be scared of us. You're a Jackson. Okay, and then that's when we get the finale, the big finale of the Victory Tour. Now they doing the Love You Save, and I'm like, okay, because they haven't done the Love You Save in the movie yet, but they're doing it here for the big finale. I enjoyed the big finale. I thought it was really great. Thought it was really well done. The only criticism I have of it is it should have been Shake Your Body. It should have been Shake Your Body out to the ground, because even though they do the infamous point, I just want to see Shake Your Body. Hell, maybe you could even throw a Marlon body roll in there. But as Michael is talking, this is what they're doing. It ends with them about to do the whole Victory Tour. And we know the Victory Tour was the last tour of the Jacksons. It was all 6 brothers there. And that is the end of part 2. So I guess right now, it's time to get my final thoughts. I'm going to tell you right now, overall, The Jacksons' American Dream is one of the best music miniseries that they ever had. It is the blueprint, and every other music biopic or movie that you have seen since then has learned from this biopic, from this miniseries. The Temptations, the 5 Heartbeats, the New Edition story, the Bobby Brown story, they've all learned and taken the blueprint from the Jacksons. And I thought it was just groundbreaking, especially at that time. Nobody really truly knew the story of the Jacksons. And it was great to be able to get those stories out there. I do wish that when it comes to family, that they would have done a little bit more to talk about Janet, to do more about Randy, to do more about the Jacksons era without Jermaine, and to see how the family would have came. But they cut a little bit of that out. Like I said, it felt rushed towards the end, opposed to at the beginning. I really enjoyed part 1 more than I enjoyed part 2, just because I'm a big fan of character development and learning about that kind of stuff like that. And I know part 2 is it's the greatest. Like we here for the hits, obviously. We here for the hits. But overall, when it comes to grading and when it comes to my standard grade system, the Jackson American Dream is a complete nerdgasm. For those who don't know, that means it's an A. It's a great miniseries. Like I said, it's the blueprint, it's the standard. I enjoy everything about it, and I'm glad I was able to bring back the retro movie experience with this review. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So make sure you guys subscribe down for more. Make sure you guys post down in the comments down below. What are some of your favorite music biopic movies or miniseries? Post down in the comments down below. I want to hear you. Make sure you hit that like button. Let's do it for Mike. Let's hit that like button. And because if this video does good, we can get more retro movie experience and bring this stuff out. Not just about Michael Jackson, but any other things. Because some people ask me about why don't you review the Temptations. I would love to do that next, or the 5 Heartbeats, or something like that. But we gotta make this video successful. So I appreciate all you guys out there. I appreciate this. Now the week is getting hot. We're gonna have to move on though. But once again, man, it's NC the place to be. Shalom, Mr. A&D. And the Nerd Coalition is out. Thank you.